to you on the Today Show. And I want you to see who she looked like.
What was the inspiration for doing this?
You know, Nefertiti is, I think, sadly remembered as the most beautiful woman of the ancient world. But in fact, she was a really substantial leader. This is a woman who was a pharaoh. And I think that it's time to identify her, to figure out who she really was. We know her from this famous bust in Berlin that everyone sort of remembers her from. But that's a kind of idealized image. And so we wanted to look at this mummy in the Egyptian Museum and say, could this be the real Nefertiti?
All right, so we're going to reveal it, but this is 3D imaging. You think this is spot on?
This is spot on. This was a 3D image of the mummy's head was done. It was then given to a forensics team and an incredible world-class reconstruction artist. So this is very accurate.
All right, here it comes. We're going to do the big reveal.
I'm ready.
Here we
We're
go.
gonna have to knock it
1, 2,
over.
3.
Wow.
And there she is.
Wow, that's intense.
Wow.
Isn't she amazing?
Yes.
She really is.
So how do you reconstruct? And how accurate do you think this is?
I think it's extremely accurate to the mummy. The forensics artists are able to do an extremely good job at looking at the tissue, depth, determining muscle, and all of that. And so what we're looking at here for sure is King Tut's mother. We know genetically that this mummy is King Tut's mother.
So Nefertiti.
That's right. We know that Tut's father was Akhenaten, who was married to Nefertiti. So it's a good bet. And the really encouraging thing for me is that when you look at the known ancient images of Nefertiti that we have, like the Berlin bust, there are amazing similarities here.
I was going to say, a lot of people get those necklaces with that side view.
Right.
They sell them everywhere in Cairo, and it looks spot on.
But what's amazing, really, is that the Berlin bust is this kind of idealized image. It's the sort of ancient Photoshop, right? This is a real woman. And when we look at this reconstructed bust, what we see here is someone who is substantial, and someone whose mummy was really cast off, and now we can really see her restored, have her dignity restored in a way.
That was cool.
Incredible
Josh,
artistry, and obviously an archaeological feat as well, but it's really cool, Josh. Thank you.
We're going to find more about
That image was very, very comical to me. It was funny. I'm not going to lie. I laughed at that. Because when I looked at that image, this is what I thought. The African heat. How did this version of Nefertiti survive in the African heat? How?
I don't know. Is he talking about like preserved wise? Because that's what the bust, it's been preserved. That's why a lot of this stuff has been preserved there. Is he talking about why it doesn't look like him? A man 90 shades darker with a nose 3 times as wider and lips 5 times as large with negroid features. It's because she has a Caucasian cranium and doesn't have any negroid features because she was, of course, not a negroid. And so you have her, you have Akhenaten, and they end up making King Tut, who at the end of the video I'll show you the DNA analysis clips that you can click on in the side corners. But some of these people just can't quite cognate. Is there an Egyptian mummy that... I mean, seriously, is there an Egyptian mummy that looks like this guy? Is there a wall art that's not a Nubian being run over by a chariot that looks a man if anywhere near this color? Without some black person photoshopping it and trying to make it look darker than it is, even though they're just shown with red ochre and tan. So let's look here. I mean, if we look at the Egyptian wall art, just any of it here, and you find any princesses or ladies on there, and look how light they are. And I don't know how anybody could say, well, no, that's the queen right there, and that one next to her is her princess, her daughter. Ooh, it's hard to tell which one's the mother and which one's the daughter. Ha ha ha. Well, one thing's for sure, they're not black people. And women are kept fair and out of the sun if you're rich enough to do so, and so it keeps them from getting dark. That's because they're tannable people that can get tans, and so the men show that they've done the work by being more tanned colored, and the women are showing that they didn't have to do the work by being less colored in art. It's a simple thing they've known since forever and ever, and ever. And so you look at these art pieces, and that is not so incorrect. You know, look, here's a king and his queen, right? This is Amenhotep III and Queen Tiye. So they always want to claim Queen Tiye, and she's just wearing a silver veil. They go, it's an afro. No, they did have fake hair back then because they had a lice problem, and they shaved their heads mainly and kept it real short, but they ceremoniously wanted to have long hair. Now, black people don't do long hair. They don't get long hair, so why would this even be a thing? But anyhow, so here's a tanned man who shows that he does the work for the woman. And here's the woman, Queen Tiye herself. And I'm just real positive that that is not a Negroid woman. I'm sure of it. In fact, what this would display would be a tanned man and his light-skinned wife. But they're not black men with white women. And none of that silly shit either. And you look at stuff like Isis. Here's the Queen of Heaven, right here. 1360 BC. There you go. Isis. She's Caucasian. She's light tan. I mean, it's pretty evident whenever you just look for queens and kings that what we're looking at is a tan and a less tanned version. And so that's Caucasians that are able to do that and have that effect. I mean, all through here, you'll find black statues like this, and they're just solidly blacked out. They're like, oh, see, they're black. This is a fertility statue. Every one of the queens has one of these, and they have a fertility symbol, and it's just because of the black land. You see, ancient Egyptians are able to use any color they want to, and it doesn't actually have to refer to anything but what they want it to refer to, and it was the black land of Kemet. Kemet means black land. It's got a land symbol next to it. Kemetan means black land. So you have, oh yeah, look how dark he is. Look how light she is. He does the work. She doesn't have to. There are other depictions that show where she's tan, and she wants you to let you know she does something. So amazingly, it's almost like the lighter skinned ones aren't the queens that do a lot, and the darker skinned ones are the ones that do. And they dark skin a lot of these things and stuff. But look, this is a queen that has some tan to her. And I found a new princess that they have just recently uncovered, which I've got a video of also. I'll show that in the bottom hand corner. But if you want to look at princesses raising the new youngsters and kids in art, I mean, you can't say that guy I showed you a minute ago looks like these people. It's just a farce. It's not fair to even attempt that, especially whenever a lot of them are these tan people with blonde hair.